Well, it's another early one for me. Now we've reached the middle of May, we should be past this last frost date. So we're getting lots of sunny mornings. So you want to go to bed early, so you can get up early. Use as much as that daytime as you can, because it has been a long time coming. But this morning we're a little bit borderline. The nighttime temperatures dropped down to 40 degrees. It felt really cold, and I were worried that there might have been a frost, but we just managed to get away with that. So I thought you'd best be up early and out and go around greenhouses, just have a quick check on plants, make sure everything's alright, and then we can get on with today's jobs. One thing that's definitely doing alright are these little gem lettuces. We only put them in there last week, and look how much they've grown, thanks to it being that little bit warmer and brighter. We're getting some really good sized little gem lettuces. So that's why we keep sowing more seeds, because we're going to be going through quite a few salads over the next couple of months, and I don't want to buy a single pack of salad from supermarkets when I know we can grow it here. Just save us a few pounds. We've got some more compost, thanks to people donating to this channel, which is obviously really appreciated. We keep popping out and getting an extra couple of bags of compost so we can keep on sowing and potting on. So thank you very much to all the people that's been so generous to do that. So I'm just going to nip down to other greenhouse after I've checked in here and make sure all plants are alright, because if they are, it's all full steam ahead between now and autumn. Well, one of the things that I always get concerned about more than anything is things like courgettes and cucumbers, because if it drops too cold, these plants are definitely the ones that's going to feel it first. And these seem perfectly fine. No drooping leaves, no darkening leaves or anything. We've got a nice bit of new growth coming there as well. Those are the peppers that we grew that weren't very good, and they've come on really well now. So I'm quite pleased with those. So we'll get those in 9 centimetres as soon as possible. Still got some nice bits of flowers on these little tomatoes, but I've had them stood in this container, and because they've had contact with soil, the roots have started growing into the container, which, to be fair, might not be a bad thing, but it will be when we try and get it out of this pot. And I bet this one's done the same. Yeah, I can feel it straight away, trying to grow into that compost. But this container's for those dwarf French beans. And again, French beans are just not cold hardy at all. So if there's going to be a problem, these are the plants to keep your eye on. They'll start and discolour before anything else does. But it seems like we're alright. These are starting to now put on a bit of extra growth, which is brilliant. And get them climbing up these canes, get them flowering, and get something off them. And I think because these plants seem really happy in that container, I'm going to pop a couple of these tomato plants in there. Because these plants are dwarf cherry tomatoes, so they're not going to get too big. And as I said, we've already got flowers on top, so it is a known fact that beans and peas do disperse nitrogen into air and through the roots as well, to a certain degree. So because we've got plants like these that rely on nitrogen, I don't think it's going to pop a couple in and see how they get on. We could always move them later if they didn't seem to be doing very well, but since you seemed quite happy in that container, we'll leave you in there. But these roots, just that little bit of warmth and everything starts to go mad. Just makes it a little more difficult to get out. I have left a few roots behind, but that's not going to. We can just rough those up a little bit. We'll make an hole. And I'll put that plant in. So there we go. Another job done this morning that we didn't even plan on doing. And that's got some really nice flowers on it, this one. So we've got a couple of dwarf tomatoes in with his beans now. We're doing a little bit of that companion planting already. And I noticed on this one, I'll take this leaf off, it's a bottom one anyway. These slugs have been finding their way into this container. And I know that they've pretty much destroyed some of the plants at our side that we've covered with that net. When we wander down to that greenhouse, I'll have a little check on those as well. But for other plants, these peppers, again, putting on good size. And that's one of the jobs that I'm going to be doing today. We need to move these peppers on to get them growing as fast as we can, while keeping an eye on things like that. That's called a black beauty, and it's now getting too big for this container. So again, something else to move on. And I did sow some more dwarf broad beans, and they've come through quite happily now. Of course, we know that these plants especially grow roots really fast. Definitely something to keep his eye on. That dwarf cherry tomato in that bigger container is doing really good. So we'll leave that as it is at the moment. What's this one? That's a cherry falls as well, so another dwarf cherry tomato. Seems alright in there at the minute, so I'm going to leave that a bit longer, I think. We need to concentrate more on these smaller potted plants, like these cucumbers. That one started to put on a nice bit of size. But I want to get some of these potted on and get them in that container garden as well. These ones are a bit bigger because we moved those on last week. You can see that leaf's a bit wobbly because they're starting to dry out a bit. And I'll just give that a little bit of water before we move down to other greenhouse. Because I think it's going to be sunny again all day today. I've been filling these pots up with compost and all, burying all that growth from these potato plants. And they're virtually at the top now, so we can leave those, wait to see what harvest we get. Mixture of second earlies and main crops. This is one that I wanted to keep my eye on. And tomato plants we put in last week seem to be doing alright. So do spring onions as well. Since we took those cauliflowers out, they've got a bit more light. So the spring onions have picked up quite a bit now. We did lose a tomato plant though. They were really strange. We put two right small ones in. More of those Italian plums to see if we could encourage them to grow quicker. And we put one right there as well. I don't know if you can see this or not, but right there is all that's left of it. That's the stem. I came in and the top part of that little tomato plant were laid there. In fact, that's what's left on it. Summer had attacked it and it bit right through that stem. I've never seen that before on a tomato plant. And we need to keep his eye on these plants in here as well. Again, we've got more peppers. We've got peppers everywhere. That's why we're desperate in need to get some more compost, so we can get all these peppers moved on. Else we'll not get no out of them. More little tomato plants there. That one's not looking very clever, but it's as light as a feather. So another 1 foot watering tree. It's a bit bigger actually than some of the ones we've got. So while we're in here, we might as well replace what's left of this tomato plant with a new one. And hopefully it won't get attacked. Got to keep going and going. Never give up. Get that in. Leave that label there as well. Another one. Replacing that one that's been eaten. And it's a bit bigger than the one we put in a few days ago. Hopefully we'll have some success with that one. Got some more French beans here as well. Seem to be doing alright. But I think these are the dwarf ones. And unfortunately, the ones that we planted outside are the full-size cobras, and they're the ones that's been attacked by slugs, even though we netted the entire thing off. And that's a few more peppers. We've got so many pepper plants this year growing. Some more over there as well. So it's definitely going to have to be a couple of bags of compost just for these peppers. So I want to get as much in container garden this year as I possibly can. What's this one? That's another one of those round courgettes. As these courgettes grow, you're going to notice these first leaves that came out, they'll start and turn yellow. It's not a problem, don't worry about it. Just pinch them off. They don't need them anymore anyway. And it'll make your plant a little bit cleaner. But more than anything, those bottom leaves are basically sat on your compost. And then slugs are going to use that as a platform to get on and then climb up your plant and start chewing all your good leaves. So get rid of them straight away. They're not needed anymore. That's a good sized plant as well. We've got loads and loads of things that we need to pot on. There's one again. Nice green leaves. These ones. All yellowing. No good for anything. Take them off. All you're doing by doing this is your plant a favour. That's that sorted. And this one's even bigger. That definitely needs to come out of that pot. But before we do that, again, get rid of old leaves. But that's got loads of roots in there. We'll probably sort that out today as well. So at least these plants are all okay. And then we've got loads and loads of these tomatoes. That's more Italian plums. These ones are called Sweet Million. And that's Sweet Million up back there that we put in these 2 litre pots. And they're going to get planted out this week as well. And then we've got more of those cherry falls. But at least everything seems to be doing alright. Unfortunately, these plants have took a beating from slugs. Even though we created this netting area for it, it's just not done as well as I thought. There's a bit of damage to those as well, but the worst ones are these ones. Slugs have absolutely destroyed those plants, and I don't think they're going to come back. So this net cover worked for a little while, but not for long. But slugs, they're absolutely relentless. Once they get to your plant, it's game over. But at least as peas are doing alright. These are now starting to work their way up that netting. So I'll probably end up taking this net down now. It doesn't seem to be doing as good a job as I hoped. I've got a little bit more life from that broccoli as well. Just seems to have picked up quite a bit over the last few days. And that one there has got a little broccoli head starting to grow on it. If you can see that. All those onions have gone mad. All that growth really shot up. And this is that one that Jenny did with all those spare onion sets we had. Loads and loads of those. And she planted them about 3 inches apart in rows. And they've all shot up now. And that is a lot of onions in there. I can see a big weeding corner. So we'll get that out today. At least all those plants in greenhouses are alright. In fact, they're better than alright. They're growing bigger and bigger by day. So even though all those plants basically seem to have been at a standstill for the last few weeks, and we have had quite a lot of comments regarding people's plants that either don't seem to be germinating, or when they do, they're growing very slow. But you've got to think they've had a really bad start to the year. We've had the wettest May and the coldest January and February. So your plants will now start to kick in with new growth. The germination will be a lot quicker. So if you've had plants that don't seem to have been growing, or you've sown seeds that don't seem to have germinated, don't worry. This is your turning point. This is when it's all going to kick in and everything is just going to go crazy. All you need to do is keep up with it, as we do with all those peppers. because I want every single pepper plant in its own container, even if it's only just a 2 litre one for now, because I want lots of peppers in that container garden. I want a container tomato plant in there as well, and we've got a couple of nice sized ones in there already. So all these things are what we need to prioritise on this week. If your seeds failed when you sowed the seeds, sow more. And as a lady asked me this morning, is it too late to sow courgettes? Definitely not. Once they germinate, they grow really quick. So if you've got some seeds left, get those sowed and they'll be up in no time. And you've seen how big these courgette plants have got in just a few weeks. So I think we've reached this turning point now. We're past this last frost date. The plants are bursting into life. We've even got this little shallot that we planted, which is just one onion bulb. And as they grow, that one bulb splits off into 5 or 6 individual bulbs. And you can see that it's doing that now. It's difficult to show you. These have all now become individual stems, which is exactly what it's supposed to do. But once again, this container's very dry, which is something else you're going to have to keep your eye on now. We've spent months and months complaining about it being wet and cold all the time and nothing's growing. And now we're going to swing right to the other end of scale where everything is growing really well. But that's because it's sunny and it's warm, so everything is going to dry out twice as fast. So set up some bottom watering trays like we have done outside, which are basically the big long compost trays that we buy from Wilco's. And then we can put all these plants in and bottom water them all at once, which is more preferable to top watering, especially as this sun gets hotter. If you top water all your plants, you're going to burn your leaves and then you're going to cause more problems. At least for this morning, we've come out and we know all those plants is fine. There's plenty of jobs for us to be doing today, so we'll crack on with those. But first I'm going to pop in, I'm going to get a quick cup of tea and then we'll set off with today's jobs. Because it is only 7 o'clock in the morning, but I needed to get out here and check. We've all spent enough days hibernating, so as soon as it gets light, I like to be up and out getting things done. And if you want to see what I am going to be doing through this week, please hit that subscribe button, press that notifications bell, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Take care.